Part 118. The Sweetness of the Seventies. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 1173. 1171. After changing trains several times along the way, we finally arrived in Yanjing. Xiaowu and Zhongning got the news and came out of the team early to pick up Huo Yingzhe. Because the unit that transferred Huo Yingzhe was of a very high level, Xiaowu and Zhongning were not qualified to follow him, so they could only stay on standby in the research institute. They were a little surprised when they received Huo Yingzhe's call, but they were more happy. However, Huo Yingzhe told him not to tell his family until he got home, so as not to worry them. Thinking about traveling to so many places and struggling for 5 or 6 days before returning home, Huo Yingzhe was very glad that he did not tell He Tian, otherwise she would have to wait at home for several more days. "Boss, you're finally back." Xiaowu stepped forward to help Huo Yingzhe carry his luggage, feeling a little excited. Huo Yingzhe smiled and said, "How are you at home?" "The family is fine," Xiaowu said, "the children are obedient, the old man is in good health, and the sister-in-law is preparing for the competition and has to train intensively every day." Huo Yingzhe nodded, finally relieved. After getting in the car, Zhongning drove. When passing the business district, Huo Yingzhe said softly, "Zhongning, find a place to park, I'm going to buy something. When I leave, I need to buy gifts for the children. I've been missing for such a long time, and if I don't bring any gifts," the child looked at me eagerly, and I was embarrassed too. Also, he wanted to prepare a gift for He Tian. "Yes, boss," Zhongning said. The boss has always been like this, taking great care of his children and his family, so he found a place to park and went shopping with Huo Yingzhe. After entering the commercial building, Huo Yingzhe went directly to the women's clothing store and bought a dress for He Tian. It's summer, and skirts are the most suitable and most beautiful. This is a light green skirt with slim ruffles, which should suit He Tian. Then we went to the children's area and the youth area. "Do you know how tall and heavy the children are now?" Huo Yingzhe asked. "Unlike He Tian, the children's height and weight have been fixed. As long as they don't overeat, their weight will not fluctuate so much, and why? Tian pays attention to these things, so Huo Yingzhe knows it well. However, children are in the developmental stage and grow very fast. If you don't ask clearly, you may have bought the wrong product." Xiaowu, Zhongning scratched his head, thought for a while, and then said, "Boss, the children have a lot of clothes at home, so don't buy them. Didn't you promise to buy footballs for your children? The mistress is still mumbling about your footballs. As for Ruwa, Ruimin, and the others are older and like some teenage things." After hearing this, Huo Yingzhe was convinced, nodded, and said, "Yes, you are right, then I won't buy clothes. Also, boss, you have an extra daughter, so you can't just buy 3 copies, you have to buy 4 copies." Zhongning reminded that they also knew that He Tian adopted a girl. Last month, He Tian officially went to the police station and the civil affairs department to go through the adoption procedures. Modern Huo Xianxian has officially become He Tian, the daughter of Huo Yingzhe, and has the same legal rights as her biological child. Ah, Huo Yingzhe was stunned. When was it born? Why didn't I know? Huo Yingzhe thought that He Tian became pregnant after he left. Seeing Huo Yingzhe's misunderstanding, Zhongning quickly said, "Boss, he was not born by my sister-in-law, but adopted. This is what happened." Hearing this, Huo Yingzhe was stunned for a moment, and then he calculated it in his mind before he suddenly realized it. It turns out that the little spinner turtle has transformed into a little girl. She turns out to be a female. "Okay, then buy one more." Huo Yingzhe smiled and couldn't wait to see the little turtle's transformation, especially now that she was his daughter, which made him even more curious. Thinking about the little spin turtle following him for so many years, and now it has finally transformed, it can be considered a good result. The little spin turtle once helped so much, but now that the little spin turtle has transformed, it is not surprising that He Tian Tian has adopted him as his daughter. After all, the Snake King has become her first cousin. Huo Yingja bought 4 gifts for the children: a harmonica for Huo Ruimin, a jigsaw puzzle for Huo Ruwa, a Barbie doll for Little Spin Turtle, and a football for Huo Xiaosan. I originally wanted to buy some gifts for Grandma Wang, but I thought there was no shortage of anything at home and the old man didn't care much about these things, so I didn't buy them. Go back and find a piece of jade that can nourish your body and give it to her old man. After Huo Yingja returned home, only Grandma Wang was at home. Seeing Huo Yingja coming back, Grandma Wang was very excited and said, "Yingja, are you hungry? Are you thirsty? Are you tired?" Huo Yingja smiled and said, "Grandma Wang, I'm not thirsty, hungry, or tired. I was in a sleeper all the way. How are you?" "Okay, my health is fine," Grandma Wang said with a smile. "I can still live for a few more years." "Then take care of yourself. I'm going to take a shower, change some clothes, and pick up Tian Tian from get off work and the kids from school," Huo Yingja said with a smile. He couldn't wait to see his wife and kids. "Well, it's time to go," Grandma Wang said. "Go, I'll tell the cooks at home to cook more dishes, and let's have a good celebration tonight." "Okay," Huo Yingja nodded, agreeing very much. Huo Yingja took a shower, changed clothes, and went to pick up He Tian Tian from get off work, wanting to give He Tian Tian a surprise. Grandma Wang has already asked the cook to prepare more delicious food. Lu Wangxia was very happy when she heard that Huo Yingja was back, and immediately promised to cook a table of delicious food. Mrs. Huo often called Grandma Wang, but Grandma Wang couldn't help but tell Mrs. Huo, "Ask the cook to cook more, and we'll all go there in a minute," Mrs. Huo said immediately. She hadn't seen Huo Yingja for several months and couldn't help but want to see her grandson. Mrs. Huo found Mr. Huo, who was bragging to others outside, and said, "Old man, stop bragging. Our grandson is back from a business trip. Let's go and have a look soon." It's not a secret that her grandson is on a business trip, and now that he's back, it's even less secret, so Mrs. Huo is not afraid of others hearing about it. When Mr. Tang heard this, he was even more envious and said, "Congratulations." Same joy, Mr. Huo smiled so hard that his teeth were all exposed. The Huo family is really about to get up. As for the grandson below, it's even worse. Huo Yingjun is young, especially the ambassador to Ukraine. Then Huo Yingja, the most awesome one, with a good background and a very high IQ, otherwise he wouldn't be able to become the youngest academician. Yet he successfully developed it and made great contributions. Mr. Tang's eyes turned red with envy. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 1174. 1172. The experiment was successful last month and everyone knew the news. Now that Huo Yingja is back, they will naturally be connected to the project. Comparing people with others will lead to death, and comparing goods with goods will lead to throwing away. The children of the younger generation of the Huo family are even better than the last. Not to mention the descendants of the Huo family, the daughters-in-law and grandson-in-law are not as good as those of the Huo family, especially He Tian Tian. Now he is the giant panda of the swimming team, and he is a key protection target. He is counting on He Tian Tian to win the gold medal. "Haha, go back quickly," Mr. Tang said. Although he felt sad, he was also very happy recently. His daughter-in-law Qi Zhenmin gave birth to a pair of twins, a granddaughter and a granddaughter, in the villa. "Make a big splash. Then I'll brag with you some other time," Mr. Huo said proudly, turned and left. But when leaving, he still held Mrs. Huo's hand and helped her walk very gently. When everyone saw that this 80-year-old couple was still so sticky, it was a bit disgusting. "Look at this old Huo, he is a rough man, but he is kind to his wife. From his youth to now, I have never seen him talking loudly to his wife. On the contrary, the Huo family's sister-in-law often talks to the tall brother Huo. Roar, one of the old men, who was younger than Mr. Huo, said. Haha, what you are saying is that Lao Huo is better at this than us, another old man said, but it's right to think about it. Lao Huo looks like that and has a low education. He naturally has to be humble in front of his wife. Small, otherwise no one would live with him. I heard everyone saying mean things, saying that Mr. Huo had embarrassed their men and was a henwife at home. Mr. Tang shook his head and laughed, saying, "You are all wrong." "Old Tang, what do you mean?" the old man asked. "By the way, you are no better than Lao Huo. If my sister-in-law yells, you will be honest. If you don't obey me, you will be beaten." Mr. Tang looked at everyone with a look that sees all the mountains at a glance and said disdainfully, "I say you are superficial, but you are even more superficial. You know that Lao Huo's wife was good-looking and well-educated when she was young. I didn't realize that Lao Huo is the shrewd one. Look at the children born to people who are highly educated, and each one is smarter than the other. If you look at the children from the art troupe, they are very good-looking, but in addition to being good-looking, they can sing, dance, and dress up all day long. What's the point of being so gorgeous? This woman is beautiful on the one hand, but also has culture and content. The key is to be able to educate her children, otherwise why would there be such a thing as a husband and a child?" When everyone heard it, it was a critical hit of 10,000 points. They said harsh words not because the descendants of Mr. Huo's family were progressive, but they didn't expect this reason. Some people regret it in their hearts. If they had known better, they would have found someone with education. Then your wife has no other advantages besides being tall. "You don't think you are unusually tight," a fat old man retorted, feeling that what old Tang said was a bit one-sided. Mr. Tang rolled his eyelids and said, "As long as I am an educated person in the family, why do I need so much? Besides, back then, my mother, my father, and I were all interested in my daughter-in-law being tall. Look, my 3 sons and 1 daughter are all tall. We, the Tang family, can't grow taller, thanks to my wife." Hearing this, everyone was speechless, and there was another reason. Although I don't know if it is true, it is true that old Tang, a condensed little man, has several tall sons. Everyone was filled with envy and jealousy again, especially when they thought about old Tang's youngest son's second marriage, a wealthy Chinese-American daughter, and the birth of 3 children, the next 2 of whom were twins born not long ago. Nowadays, there is family planning, but old Tang's youngest son or daughter-in-law can be born at will. Their eyes were all red, especially those who had a girl at home, and they were even more angry. Family planning is a basic national policy. You can only have 1 child, not more. Mr. Huo left, and it was Mr. Tang's turn to brag, so the old men in the villa felt bad, especially chatting with the people named Tang and Huo, who were so shocked that their hearts trembled. Speaking of Mr. Huo, Mrs. Huo came here with Huo Jekan, Song Chunli, and Huo Ruxiang. Huo Yingji drove and waited for He Tiantian at the door of Sports Zong's Inn. He Tiantian is doing strength training. She has great strength to begin with, but now through systematic training, her musculoskeletal body has improved in all aspects. Finally finishing today's training, He Tiantian was sweating profusely. Kui Ying came over and handed He Tiantian a dry towel. He Tiantian wiped her sweat, sat on the edge and drank water slowly. She was a little tired and said, "Oh, the day's training is finally over. You can go home soon." Kui Ying smiled and said, "Seeing you working so hard, I even want to persuade you not to compete." "Haha, we've reached this point, so we can't give up casually," He Tiantian said. "Anyway, my physical fitness is good, and I will recover after a while after being tired." "Yes, that's true," Kui Ying said, but watching you swim is really a visual enjoyment. It's very beautiful, just like a mermaid. You just know how to joke, He Tian Tian said. However, I admit that I can feel unparalleled pleasure in the water. It is really more comfortable than being in the air. As long as you like it. That's why you practice swimming in the first place, Kui Ying said. Now the eyes of the outside world are focused on you and they have high hopes for you. Yes, every time I go back to my old home, my elders always encourage me. My parents, grandmother, and my brother abroad encourage me every time they write letters, He Tian Tian said, for myself and for my family. Man, in order to set an example for my children, I also want to get good grades. He Tian Tian went to take a shower, changed her clothes, carried her bag, and came out with Kui Ying and Wei Yuan Yuan. At the gate, Huo Yingjia's car was seen in the distance. Huo Yingjia also saw He Tian Tian and quickly got out of the car to greet He Tian Tian. Huo Yingjia changed into a white t-shirt, a pair of thin casual pants, and a pair of black sneakers. His hair was still short, and he walked over leisurely and with the sun behind his back. He Tian Tian was pleasantly surprised. It was really a surprise. She didn't expect Huo Yingjia to come back at this time, and she was very excited. Brother Yingjia, He Tian Tian ran over quickly. At this moment, she only had Huo Yingjia in her eyes. Huo Yingjia also quickened his pace. When he was still a few meters away from He Tian Tian, he stretched out his arms, waiting for He Tian Tian to jump into his arms. He Tian Tian was so happy that she forgot everything and hugged Huo Yingjia's neck. Huo Yingjia also reached out and hugged He Tian's waist, holding him tightly. If it weren't for someone else passing by the door, Huo Yingjia would still want to hold He Tian Tian and spin around in circles. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 1175. 1173. Sci-fi Fei and 11 Wrong came out and happened to see this scene. Oh, brother-in-law, I haven't seen you for a long time. Our sister He has been thinking about you all day. Sci-fi Fei is very familiar with He Tian Tian and has met Huo Yingjia many times. Huo Yingjia often came to pick up He Tian Tian. I haven't seen you for a long time this year, maybe something happened. Huo Yingjia smiled and said, haha, I just came back from a business trip. Hey, I must have not told teacher He, otherwise teacher He would be very happy today. Sci-fi Fei smiled, okay, I won't disturb you anymore, go home quickly. Goodbye. Huo Yingjia smiled, put his arms around He Tian's thin waist, and went home together. There were many people at the door, and they were all envious when they saw such a scene. Then Huo Yingjia is so handsome. 11 Wrong said, how great it would be if I found such a handsome boyfriend. Sci-fi Fei patted her head and said, then do you have a good-looking teacher? Are you more talented than her? 11 Wrong said with a bitter face, hey, then I'd better find someone who is a good match for me. He Tian Tian is good-looking and talented, not something ordinary people can match. Not far after Sci-fi Fei and 11 Wrong left, Jiao Lihong and Cai Fenfang came out. Comparing people with others is hard, and goods are throwing away. Jiao Lihong said, we may not be able to get what we work hard for, but some people can get it easily without working hard. I am so envious. Cai Fenfang is also envious, even more envious than Jiao Lihong. At least Jiao Lihong has an uncle to help her, and she can get a good job in the sports bureau in the future. But as for her, her grades are not top-notch, and she may not be able to win the championship. She must not stay in Yanjing and can only go back to her hometown. Above, assign a common job. After seeing the big cities and the colorful flowers abroad, Cai Fenfang didn't want to go back. She wanted to stay here, have a good job, and find a powerful man. There is a reason why she thinks so, because Cai Fanfang is good looking and she feels that she has the capital to fight hard. Yeah, I'm envious too, Cai Fanfang said. It's just that there are some things we can't envy, so we can only train hard. Hey, the key point is that we can't compare to her even if we train hard. Jiao Lihong is now numb. She has tried her best, but in the simulated competition, she still can't compare to He Tian. Yeah, I think except for He Tian who has better grades than you, there is no opponent for you at home or even abroad, Cai Fanfang said, fanning the flames. Jiao Lihong felt sad after hearing this. But He Tian is so powerful, she can't surpass him. At this point, He Tian cannot withdraw from the competition, let alone give up, so her situation cannot be changed. But there was a bad idea in my mind. How great would it be if He Tian had something to do and couldn't participate in the competition and automatically abstained? It stands to reason that her results are already much better than those in the last Olympics. If it weren't for He Tian, she would be the champion. Cai Fanfang saw Jiao Lihong's expression changing, and secretly prayed in her heart to do it quickly. As long as He Tian can't compete, she can get the gold medal. Cai Fanfang has always been Jiao Lihong's follower, but at the same time she also wants to use Jiao Lihong to get more resources in the team. Now at this time, Cai Fanfang knew that she had no ability, so she wanted to use Jiao Lihong's hand to prevent He Tian from successfully participating in the competition. During this time, Cai Fanfang has been inadvertently talking about He Tian in front of Jiao Lihong, irritating Jiao Lihong little by little. The effect is good. Now, just hearing He Tian's name will affect Jiao Lihong's mood and even her thinking. That's fine, as long as Jiao Lihong takes action, she doesn't need to take action. Reap the benefits of being a fisherman. Jiao Lihong was in a bad mood. She originally wanted to go out, but she decided not to go out and went straight back to her dormitory. As a little follower, Cai Fanfang stopped going out. When the time was right, she continued to mention He Tian next to Jiao Lihong, stimulating Jiao Lihong and making her gradually become crazy before she could do crazy things. Speaking of He Tian, Huo Yingji got in the car. He Tian kissed Huo Yingji's face, and Huo Yingji kissed He Tian's forehead. Xiewu and Zhang Ning in front had expressionless faces and didn't dare to look. Fortunately, the two of them stopped in moderation and did not embarrass everyone too much. Why didn't you tell me before you came back? He Tian said angrily, I miss you so much and want to know your news as soon as possible. Huo Yingji hugged He Tian and said softly, I don't know where in the mountains we were on the plane and on the bus, and we had to be blindfolded. After we got on the train, we felt very sleepy and kept sleeping. When I wake up, I will arrive in Yanjing, so I can't tell you in advance. I see. He Tian nodded. The confidentiality work was too strict, so it was understandable that Huo Yingji didn't inform her. Besides, let me tell you in advance that if you are thinking about something at home, why not just appear in front of you and give you a surprise, Huo Yingji said, taking the opportunity to speak in He Tian's ear, and He Tian's warm breath made He Tian happy. Tian's ears turned red. That's true, He Tian said, it's great. I heard that my father-in-law and mother-in-law are coming to Yanjing in the past 2 days. Our family can finally be reunited. Yes, that's really good news, Huo Yingji nodded. By the way, we happen to have time, let's go pick up the child together. Okay, He Tian nodded. You don't know, after you left, at first, the children thought you would be back soon, but after 10 days and half a month, you still haven't come back, and you keep asking me for your dad. Now that you are back, you must try to find time to play with the children. It just so happens that they are about to start the end of the semester and summer vacation. Huo Yingji nodded and said, well, of course, I will try my best to make it up to you and the children. By the way, we have a daughter in our family, now named Huo Xian, He Tian explained, and then secretly wrote 3 words "Little Turtle" on Huo Yingjia's palm. Huo Yingjia already knew about the transformation of the little tortoise, and nodded gently, saying, "I know. Since we are destined to be together, it is our family." "Yeah, Xian is very well behaved and very smart," He Tian said. "She is in the 2nd grade now. Every time she attends a parent-teacher meeting, the teacher will praise her. Ruwa and Ruimin are older and know how to arrange their own studies and lives. It's just that Huo Xiaosan is naughty and often fights with others. His parents have been called several times. I don't want to do it anymore, so I let the Snake King take the blame for me. Now that you are back, you can go from now on." Huo Yingjia smiled and said, "I will discipline him well in the future. This brat obviously has too much energy. Does he still like football? If he does, send him to football practice and release his excess energy on the football field." The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Xing Cao. Chapter 1176. 1174. This is indeed a good idea, but there is a downside. Will it delay Huo Xiaosan's studies? He likes football very much, He Tian said, but we don't have a good football school here. If he is sent to a football school, it may affect his academic performance. If he can't become a star in the future, no matter how bad his grades are, he will have no means of making a living in the future. We have so many assets, are you still worried about the future of your children? Huo Yingjia asked curiously. At least Huo Xiaosan will have no worries about food and clothing in this life. No matter how much we give him, there will be a time when he will run out of things. If he is not useful and squanders the family property, he can survive if he has a skill. He Tian does not think that having money and property means everything will be worry-free. Well, what you said makes sense, Huo Yingjia said. Go to school in the morning and practice in the afternoon. Don't worry, I will make arrangements. If he really likes football, he will study hard according to our requirements in order to play football. That bad boy has been able to negotiate conditions since he was a child. He Tian was speechless. Anyway, I'll leave it to you, you should discipline your naughty son well. Huo Yingjia nodded. I'm back, so I won't let you worry about it. The car arrived at the school gate, and He Tian and Huo Yingjia got out of the car and waited at the gate. Huo Ruwa led his younger brother, Huo Ruimin led his younger sister, and the 4 of them came out of the school and looked around to see who was going to pick them up today. Huo Ruimin was surprised to see who was coming to pick them up today. Dad, Mom, look, Dad is home. Following Huo Ruimin's finger, everyone saw He Tian and Huo Yingjia. The little tortoise was also very excited, but a little shy. I wonder if the owner would feel awkward when seeing her like this? Huo Ruwa and Huo Xiaosan were also very excited and ran over happily. But when he came to his father, Huo Xiaosan said angrily, Dad, you said you would give me a birthday present. It's been so long, you must have forgotten. I didn't forget, Huo Yingjia smiled. Dad was on a business trip and couldn't come back until he completed the task. Now he's back, and he brought gifts for everyone. Is mine a football? Huo Xiaosan asked. Just one question made Huo Yingjia sure that Huo Xiaosan still liked football, and he liked it very much. Yes, Huo Yingjia touched his youngest son's head. There's your football. Although Huo Ruwa didn't say anything, he looked at his father hopefully. Your bullet sailboat was also brought back, Huo Yingjia said. He asked Zhou Yu and Xiao to help him get it, and Xie Wu happened to help him get it from the office today. Huo Ruwa saw that his father remembered it, and nodded. Thank you, Dad. What about mine? Huo Ruimin looked at her father with stars in her eyes, hoping that her father would give her an unexpected gift. Huo Yingjia smiled and said, you have one too, but I can't tell you now. I'll give it to you when we go back. Ah, Huo Ruimin was even more excited. She really wanted to know. At this time, Huo Yingjia squatted down and hugged the little turtle, saying, This is our little daughter Xian Xian, right? Being held by her master like this, the little turtle was a little shy and timid. Yeah, the little turtle nodded, not daring to look into Huo Yingji's eyes. Huo Yingji smiled and said, "Okay, don't think too much about the past. We will be a family in the future. I will treat you equally and love you." When the little turtle heard this, her eyes turned red and she cried in Huo Yingji's arms. In the past, the little turtle was bullied by other monsters and her own kind. It was Huo Yingji who saved her, gave her a stone body, and taught her to practice, transform into a human form, and enjoy the prosperity of the world. In the little turtle's heart, Huo Yingji is her master, her teacher, and now her father. Such a change is really good. Little turtle never dreamed that such a wonderful thing would happen to her. As expected, good people are rewarded. As a stone statue of a river guardian beast, she has blessed the local people for tens of thousands of years and accumulated good fortune, so she has the good results now. Okay, stop crying, go home, we will open the gifts together and have a big meal. Huo Yingji smiled and took the children to the car. Huo Ruwa and Huo Ruimin were also very happy to see that their father accepted Xiao Xianxian. Although Xiao Xianxian was adopted, they always felt that Xiao Xianxian was very kind, as if they had known each other before. The children liked Xiao Xianxian very much, and Xiao Xianxian quickly integrated into the family. The family got in the car, and Xiaowu drove very smoothly and arrived home. As soon as they entered the house, they saw Mr. Huo, Mrs. Huo, and Huo Jekan and his wife. Huo Yingji also came with Xiao Jian. When Huo Yingji saw the elders, he hurried forward and said, "Grandfather, grandmother, grandma Wang, uncle, aunt, Yingqi, Xiao Jian, hello, thank you for coming to welcome me. Haha, this is a big happy event, of course we have to have a good gathering." Song Chunli said, "Xiao Jian, is your uncle awesome?" Xiao Jian said proudly, "My uncle is awesome, and my aunt is even more awesome. My aunt is a world champion. Scientist, military expert, these positions are very far away for Xiao Jian. He only knows that they are awesome, but he doesn't know how awesome they are. But He Nations World Championship is different. That is Xiaojian's goal. He also wants to become a swimming athlete and a world champion in the future." After hearing this, He Tian smiled and said, "Xiao Jian is also awesome. I met your coach a few days ago. He said that you are making great progress and are very talented, so you have to work hard, eat well, and grow taller." Su Jian, but now his name has been changed to Huo Jian. Huo Jian was excited and nodded repeatedly, "And, I will work hard. I will participate in the youth competition in October this year. Then, aunt, uncle, grandpa and grandma, you will go to watch my competition. This is at the scene. Auntie brought my brothers, sisters, and younger brothers to the scene to cheer you on." He Tian smiled and gave Huo Jian a thumbs up. Huo Yingqi was very grateful to He Tian. She couldn't go out because of her leg disease, Zhao Huan was not in Yanjing, and Song Chunli was old, so He Tian helped manage Huo Jian swimming. With He Tian as a role model, Xiao Jian is very happy and works hard, so he doesn't let her worry. Okay, Huo Jian nodded, "I will work hard." Song Chunli helped greet her and said, Tian, you should also take a rest. You must be very tired from training all day. Just wait, you can eat soon." Mr. Huo looked at his eldest son, then at his grandson, and smiled and said, "Let's go to the study and have a chat." Huo Yingji nodded and said, "Yes, grandfather, uncle." Huo Yingji took them to the study. The guard beside him carefully checked the study room and found nothing unusual, so he closed the door and went out. Mr. Huo sat on the mahogany chair and asked with a smile, "Is this trip going well?" "Well, it went pretty well," Huo Yingji said, "and I got some credit, but there are a lot of things going on right now, and it will probably take a while to get rewards based on merit. I haven't rested for such a long time, so I'm taking a good rest at home. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 1177. Mr. Huo Jekian was really relieved when he heard this. That's good, Mr. Huo said, you can indeed have a good rest at home. Your father will be back tomorrow. You and your family will go to the old house tomorrow night and we will have a good talk. Haha, I will ask my second brother for advice when the time comes, Huo Jekian said, learn more about how to manage local affairs. Uncle, is he going to work elsewhere? Huo Yingzhe asked, because he was not in Yanjing during the Chinese New Year, so he didn't know the specific details. Yes, the job in Nanhu province, Huo Jekian said, after these few years, I can retire. What about my father? Huo Yingzhe asked, guessing that the reason why the eldest uncle went out was because his father was going back to Beijing. After all, both brothers work in the headquarters and hold important positions, so there is something wrong. Your father will return to Yanjing soon to take up the position of vice president, focusing on the economy, Huo Jekian said, this is the position your father deserves. If he does well, he may be able to achieve his full position in 5 years. Mr. Huo was very satisfied and felt that the Huo family's wings were gradually becoming fuller. Huo Yingzhe heard this. Although it was expected, he was worried about his father when he thought about the difficulties he encountered. But my father is a man who likes challenges, so he might like it. Oh, then I wish my uncle all the best in his work, Huo Yingzhe said with a smile, if possible, Tian, and I will discuss it and let my joint stock companies invest and set up factories in Nanhu province. Huo Jekian's eyes lit up when he heard this, and he said with a smile, haha, that's really what I want. By the way, is there any industry that is quick to produce results, has relatively high profits, and can also create many job opportunities? Haha, think about it carefully, I still have a lot on hand, Huo Yingzhe said. The first is Sanfanqiao, vacuum packaging of cooked food. This kind of food has already opened up the market in Yanjing and coastal areas, and the market in the central and western regions is still there. There are vacancies. Secondly, you can also set up factories for electric water heaters and solar water heaters in Nanji, because those items are large items and the transportation costs are very high. Setting up a factory there can reduce transportation costs. Thirdly, it's a cosmetics company that introduces foreign equipment and formulas, which is actually the industry imported from France. Huo Jekian was very happy after hearing this. He nodded repeatedly and said, oh my, these 3 companies seem to be mature and labor-intensive, and they can also drive the development of related local industries. Yes, Huo Yingzhe nodded, at the same time, I also have a patent company over there. When we go to Baihu province, we will see if there are any companies that need these patents and we will give them to you for free. Okay, Huo Zhe smiled dryly, uncle, thank you in advance. Haha, you're welcome, Huo Yingzhe said, these are actually sweet industries. No wonder people outside are envious of our Huo family for marrying a golden baby, Huo Jekian said, I will personally thank Tian later. Mr. Huo said proudly, everything is going well with the family. If we discuss everything, we can always find a solution. As long as you are careful and cautious, if you have anything you can't decide, you can come to me and your second brother to discuss it. Don't be fooled by others. If others take advantage of you, don't take bribes and bend the law, and don't have major accidents, you will have great political achievements. Mr. Huo has done his best for his eldest son's career. He spends far more energy on his eldest son than on his second son. The 3 of them chatted a lot and didn't go out until they were called to have dinner. The 3 of them drank a lot in the evening, and everyone was happy. Tomorrow was Sunday again, so they were not as restrained as usual. When he went back in the evening, the old man's face was red, and Huo Jekian was also drunk. After sending the elders away, Huo Yingja went back to the bathroom to wash up. He Tian settled the children one by one. It was already 10 o'clock in the evening. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 1178. 176. The people are beautiful and the night is long. When He Tian woke up the next morning, Huo Yingja was gone. He Tian really thought it was a dream. It's the weekend and the children are reviewing their homework. On Monday, the final exam will begin. On He Tian's side, Huo Yingja had asked Kui Ying to ask for leave. When He Tian saw the small alarm clock beside the bed, she was even more anxious. Oh my god, it's already 10:30. He Tian stood up quickly. Opening the curtains and looking through the window, He Tian saw the tall figure outside. He Tian finally woke up. It was not a dream, but reality. Seeing that He Tian had woken up, Huo Yingja turned around and entered the house. What's wrong? Huo Yingja asked, are you hungry? He Tian was a little embarrassed and said, I'm not hungry. Haha, Huo Yingja smiled, last night. I'm hungry. You go help me prepare something to eat? I'll change clothes first. After saying that, He Tian quickly pushed Huo Yingja out, not wanting to show her embarrassed side under Huo Yingja's gaze. When Huo Yingja saw the door being closed tightly, he laughed haha and turned around to go out. Obviously, his little wife was embarrassed. When He Tian finished cleaning up and came out, she saw a few more people in the yard. It turned out that the parents-in-law were back, and there were several guards accompanying them. Dad, Mom, I'm sorry, I didn't pick you up. He Tian stepped forward with a smile on her face. From now on, she will live with her parents-in-law, which has advantages and disadvantages. But because they are family members, He Tian will tolerate their shortcomings and be grateful for their good deeds. Zhang Lifang saw He Tian coming out and knew that He Tian had just gotten up. Haha, we are familiar with each other and can find our own home. Zhang Lifang said, by the way, where are the children? Huo Jekan was smiling and wondering, why didn't he see the children? At this time, Huo Ruimin ran out of the house with her younger brothers and sisters, holding the plastic bouquet she made in her handicraft class, then lined up in a line, raised the bouquet in her hand with the little spinner, and said, welcome, warm welcome. Huo Ruwa felt that it was embarrassing to hold the bouquet, so he made a big sign with a writing brush on it, welcome Grandpa and Grandma home. Huo Xiaosan followed behind and played the trumpet, wow, wow. The sound is so loud that it makes your brain hurt. Seeing the funny grandson and granddaughter, Zhang Lifang and Huo Jekan laughed out loud. They are all good children. Zhang Lifang said with a smile, come on, Grandma has brought you gifts. You four come here to pick out gifts. Thank you, grandparents. As soon as he heard that there was a gift, he immediately stopped the welcome ceremony and followed his grandmother to the house. The children were gone and the living room became quiet. Huo Jekan smiled and said to He Tian, these children are very considerate, and it's all your fault. Haha, ever since the children heard about the exact date when their grandparents came back, they started to discuss how to welcome you. They also rehearsed secretly so that I wouldn't see them. He Tian smiled and said, I didn't know that before, but I didn't expect this. Interesting. Lu Wangzia came over and said that dinner would start in 20 minutes, and asked He Tian and others to prepare for lunch. Dad, you and Mother take a rest for a while, have lunch and take a nap at home before going to my grandfather's place. Huo Yingja said, Grandpa had dinner at my place yesterday and personally told you why you went there today. Yeah, okay. Huo Jekan said, I guess your uncle is going to Baihu province the day after tomorrow. Let's meet and talk before leaving. Yes, Grandpa means the same thing. Huo Yingja said, Uncle still expects you to invest in Tian Tian. He Tian Tian smiled and said, I heard some rumors from my grandfather years ago, so I asked people to start investigating. Brother Dajan said that Sanfan Kiao can open a branch factory there, and after calculation, he decided to invest 5-10 million. I have also contacted Wu Yaoliang, and he is also interested, and it can be 50 million, and Zhang Wenwen's clothing factory can also go there and invest 20 million. They are all labor-intensive enterprises. Not only can they increasing employment can also drive the development of related industries. After hearing this, Huo Jekan nodded and said, it's indeed good. With these three enterprises, we can also bring a lot of political achievements. This is from my side. Zhenmin said that Fuxi Automobile's central sales center will be built there. He Tian said, Tang Qian wants to build an ancient film and television city in the future. Huo Jekan's eyes lit up and he said, we must be cautious about matters in the film and television city. Yeah, I'm just thinking about it now. He Tian smiled, not necessarily yet. However, if the domestic cultural policy is in place, the construction of a film and television city is not impossible. Huo Jekan nodded and said, yes, this can become a new direction. Now emerging industries include computers and the entertainment industry, which have great potential. Huo Jekan is in charge of economics and has more insights into economics. After lunch, Zhang Lifang and Huo Jekan took a shower and took a nap. At around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the whole family packed up and headed to the Huo family's old house. Mr. Huo was walking outside today and often passed a path not far from the door, just to see his youngest son as soon as possible. Mr. Tang saw Mr. Huo looking towards the door from time to time and said, is your second son back? Haha, yes, Jekan has been away from home since he started working. It's been 30 years in a blink of an eye. Mr. Huo sighed and said with emotion. This is also forced by the situation. Mr. Tang said, these years, it is also because your children have made progress that this happened. This time the second child came back and the eldest child went out, which was also forced by the situation. Anyway, your family is thriving. Hearing this, Mr. Huo was very happy and said, haha, I hope so. Your son and daughter are both good. The Sweetness of the Seventies. Author, Chi Xing Cao. Chapter 1179. 1177. Mr. Tang nodded and said, yes, they are all pretty good. They are about the same as your family. We can't all stay in Yanjing. They go out to practice for the sake of taking a step forward in the future. The one I am most satisfied with now is Xiao Si. I gave up on him before. But I didn't expect that after those ridiculous things, I changed my ways, got married, had children, and had a prosperous career. With my mistress, I don't have to worry about the younger members of my family taking bribes and bending the law because of money. That's right, Mr. Huo said, if you can't spend all your own money, who will spend the money from outside? Mr. Tang thought of his son's peach blossom evil, and said, thanks to Yingjia's reminder earlier, he said that the ridiculous things Xiao Si had done before might be contaminated by the peach blossom evil. I tried to find the Taoist priest on the mountain for help, and sure enough, someone helped him. My son suffered from peach blossom evil, and I tried very hard to find someone to resolve it. Did Yingjia remind you? Mr. Huo was surprised. He is a scientific and technological worker, how can he be so superstitious? Later, I asked Tang Qian to ask, and I found out that a man named Huashan whom Yingjia knew some metaphysics. I saw it and told Yingjia. Mr. Tang said, if it hadn't been for that time, I don't know that anyone would use this way to take revenge on my family. Mr. Huo touched his chin and frowned, this is quite insidious. Have you found out who it is? Mr. Tang stretched out his hand and wrote the word on the palm of his hand. You think it's him? Mr. Huo naturally understood who Mr. Tang was talking about. It's impossible, right? I won't lie about this matter, Mr. Tang said, all the clues point to the Li family. After that, the people I found solved the peach blossom evil. Maybe those people there also know about it and don't dare to take any action. Oh, Mr. Huo nodded, thoughtfully. The second child in your family has taken the position of the third child in his family, so you should be careful, Mr. Tang said. As the saying goes, it is easy to hide an open arrow, but it is difficult to guard against a hidden arrow. Your family and the Li family also have a conflict of interest. But the conflict between me and him was much greater. What happened back then was not that I didn't save him, but that I couldn't save myself. Besides, I didn't have that much of a relationship with his family. Let me save his family regardless of my own. What you are saying is that I do have to be careful, Mr. Huo said. Actually, I have always felt that the relationship between you and him is not just because of that incident. There should be another incident. What happened? Mr. Tang couldn't remember. It might be that he didn't heal himself, ignored the things around him, and couldn't make a correct judgment. Mr. Huo whispered, his eldest son was working under you. He was about to win and enjoy the fruits of victory, but his son died. Upon hearing this, Mr. Tang really wanted to curse. At that time, I clearly ordered those people to be treated with courtesy, but his eldest son was so arrogant that he did not obey the rules when cleaning up and was seeking death, Mr. Tang said. Besides, there was no need for him to go, but he fell in love with the team doctor and raped her. The woman, who was also violent, shot his eldest son to death with a gun and then committed suicide. Mr. Tang scolded, I thought that we are all brothers, going through life and death, and to give him a face, so I didn't reveal the real cause of his son's death to the outside world. He knew about this, and he hated me for not telling me unless he thanked me. Me. Mr. Huo was also surprised and said, is this really the cause of his eldest son's death? Yeah, I think everyone is dead, and I told him the reason in person at the time, and he knew the truth, Mr. Tang said. In the end, I didn't get any benefits, and he blamed me for not taking care of his children. I overheard this news from others, Mr. Huo said. Anyway, he blamed you for the death of his eldest son. Now that I hear you talking about these two things, I really have to take precautions to avoid the old guy from the Li family is so anxious that he jumps over the wall. Well, yes, Mr. Tang whispered. He reminded the Huo family that the Huo family also gave him some information to exchange information. The two old guys were whispering when they saw the police bodyguards nearby, reminding them that Huo Jekan and Huo Yingjia were coming, and after seeing them, they got out of the car. Hello father, hello Uncle Tang. Huo Jekan stepped forward and saluted respectfully. Huo Yingjia followed closely. Okay, very good. Mr. Tang smiled and said, you are back. Lao Huo has been waiting here early today. Go home quickly. I also want to see my granddaughter. Come for a drink tonight, Mr. Huo greeted. No, you father, son, grandfather and grandson must have something to say, so I won't bother you. Anyway, the days are long and there will be plenty of opportunities to drink. Mr. Tang smiled, nodded, and turned to leave. The whole family had already got out of the car and were walking on the green avenue of the villa. Others also saw Huo Jekan and Huo Yingjia greeting the elders respectfully. Now the Huo family is not what it used to be. This is the time for others to show kindness and fawn over. When they got home, Mrs. Huo's face was glowing, and she and Song Chunli directed the nanny at home to prepare food that the juniors would like to eat. During the meal, Song Chunli held Zhang Lifang's hand and said, Lifang, you have been away from home. Although your ancestral home is Yanjing, your connections are a bit weak. Your eldest brother will leave for another place tomorrow. How about me? Stay in Yanjing for a while, and after I explain everything to you about the families in Yanjing, I will take care of your elder brother. When Zhang Lifang heard this, she was very grateful and said, thank you, sister-in-law. I originally wanted to ask my sister-in-law for advice, but I heard that my eldest brother is going to take office soon, so I didn't have the nerve to ask. Now, sister-in-law, can you introduce me to Yanjing? I'm so grateful for your personal connections and telling me about each company's affairs. Song Chunli was very happy when she heard Zhang Lifang's words. When she was young, she still wanted to compete with her sister-in-law. After experiencing so many things, Song Chunli has completely understood at this age that she still has to rely on her own family at critical moments. No matter how good the relationship is with others, once she encounters danger, she will run far away, and it is better not to add insult to injury. Although we don't pursue an official career, there are some things and taboos that you should be aware of. We don't talk about right and wrong, but we have to know these rights and wrongs, Song Chunli said. I just happened to sign up for some elderly interest classes, and there are many people in them. I'll take you there after you finish packing in the next few days. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 1180. 1178. Song Chunli has made a lot of preparations and will educate her second sibling Zhang Lifang about the rights and wrongs of the upper-class Yanjing family in the shortest possible time. Ms. Huo was very pleased to see that her eldest daughter-in-law could finally do things based on the overall situation, and said, "You two are the only two people in our family." Before, the eldest son was in Yanjing and the second son was in the local area. Their brothers helped each other. You and your sisters-in-law will also help each other. From now on, when the second child is in Yanjing and the eldest family goes out of town, you will still have to help each other. At least, you will not cause trouble for each other, but it is different for others. Mom, you're right, Song Chunli said with a smile. I finally figured it out. It was my fault in the past. I was petty, young, and energetic, and always wanted to compete with my younger siblings. But I didn't understand. It's pointless for the whole family to fight. Now that I'm old enough, I finally understand and won't be confused forever. Seeing what her sister-in-law said, Zhang Lifang quickly said, "No one is perfect, and I am also wrong. Sister-in-law, in fact, you have done a good job. Jekan and I have always been grateful. From now on, the family should not say anything about each other. Family talk, sister-in-law, since you are not in Yanjing, I will help our Huo family maintain connections in Yanjing, and we must not let sister-in-law's previous hard work go to waste." That's good, Song Chunli said. Although this cannot directly affect the public, sometimes some information comes from these women, so when we communicate with them, we should listen carefully. When you talk, you only talk about things that are irrelevant. If there is really no topic, just talk about what you are good at, such as healthcare, beauty, clothes, etc. Yes, I took note of it, Zhang Lifang said. I will study hard from my sister-in-law in the future. He Tian listened on the side without speaking, and helped cut the fruit from time to time. Tian, you should also listen. It will be good for you in the future, Ms. Huo said. Zhao Huan was not at home, so she paid more attention to He Tian. He Tian nodded and said, "Yes, Grandma, I'm listening. The glory of the Huo family cannot be maintained by just one person. It requires everyone in the Huo family. I understand this and I will learn from it." Okay, it's all good. Ms. Huo was in a happy mood, so she just said this, so she wouldn't worry about the third generation of the Huo family. During the meal, everyone ate deliciously, but He Tian could only eat the menu drawn up by the national team's chef. Although they are all good things, in order to have less oil, less salt, and more protein, I always feel that they are missing some flavor. After dinner, the children went to watch TV and the women continued chatting. Mr. Huo took people to the study, but this time Huo Yingjun was missing. "Come on, Jekan, you two brothers, let's talk," Mr. Huo said. Some words are not convenient to say in other places, but it doesn't matter in front of his own family. Huo Zhe smiled dryly and said, "Second brother, I'm still a little worried." Huo Jekan smiled and said, "Brother, don't worry, you are the person in charge of the work and in charge of the overall situation, and other people in Nanhu province are not against our Huo family. When things happen, we should be able to discuss them, not at the same time. The people your father prepared for you and the two capable people I prepared for you have been transferred to Nanhu province. In addition, there are people from our Huo family in Nanhu province. Although they are not many, they are all here. Being in an important position should help you. In addition, the domestic investments that Tian Tian has arranged for you, as well as some investments in Xiangjiang, and some foreign companies, will all become part of your work performance. By the way, brother. It's a notebook I made over the years when I was working in economics. I made a copy. Just read it for yourself, don't show it to others." Huo Jekan relied on the things in this notebook to push the economy of Jiangsu province to the first place, surpassing the eastern coastal cities. Many methods are not disclosed to the public, so they are even more precious. Huo Jekian took it carefully, opened it and took a look. Inside was the second brother's calligraphy, which was densely packed, and some places had been modified. "Thank you, second brother, I have written it down," Huo Jekian said. "This is the best martial arts secret book in martial arts novels." Huo Jekan smiled and said, "Haha, I can't talk about martial arts secrets, but they are some of my ideas. However, one thing, brother, when you use these methods, you must combine them with the local reality and cannot just apply them mechanically. You must be flexible, use it. The two people I sent will give you some pertinent suggestions based on objective facts." "Yeah, good." Huo Jekian was excited. "This is even better. With helpers, secrets, and so much capital, he can definitely do something good." Mr. Huo nodded and said, "Zhegan, when you start a big project, you must report it to me. Your second brother and I will give you a fair judgment based on the situation in Yanjing and Nanhu province. You decide whether to proceed." If he were young, Huo Jekian would have scoffed at his father's words, but now he is 58 and will be 60 soon. He only wants to make some political achievements and then retire with success. Therefore, he must be more cautious. "Okay, I took note of father," Huo Zhe said. "I will communicate with father and second brother in time." After that, the two brothers talked a lot about their experiences in being released. It was about 9 o'clock. After drinking several pots of tea, the father and son finally got a little tired. They stopped and looked at Huo Yingzhe, who had been silent. "Yingzhe, tell me," Mr. Huo said. Although he had talked with his grandson yesterday, he still hoped to squeeze more good things from his second grandson. Huo Yingzhe was drinking tea when he met his grandfather and uncle. His father looked at him, smiled, put down the cup in his hand, and said, "In the current general trend, I think Yanjing should seek stability and local prosperity." "How do you say this?" Mr. Huo looked calm and frowned slightly. He felt that what his second grandson said was not simple, but had profound meaning. After Huo Yingzhe considered it carefully, he said, "Let me talk about local work first. In fact, it means vigorously developing the economy in various economic situations, increasing people's income, reducing people's burden, investing more in education, etc." "What does the stability of Yanjing mean?" Huo Jekian asked. "Is Yanjing unstable? Is there any change over there?" Huo Jekian looked at Huo Yingzhe and then at Mr. Huo. Mr. Huo shook his head and said, "According to the news I have received, it is very stable and there is no abnormality." So everyone looked at Huo Yingzhe again. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 1181. Chapter 1181 Chapter 1179 Chapter 1180 Exchange of Needs. After Huo Yingji considered it carefully, he pointed at the human brain and said slowly, I am referring to the brain. Nowadays, it is affected by new ideas. Many people interpret foreign ideas too much or one-sidedly and want to apply them mechanically. In country H, however, some are suitable for country H's national conditions, but some are not suitable at all, which will cause ideological conflicts. Yes, let's take economic theory or examples as an example. Private ownership in Western countries is based on public ownership, and the economic nature of our country is the coexistence of multiple ownership economies. Therefore, it is inevitable that we cannot blindly use the economic policies of those Western countries. After all, the roots are different. Huo Jekin agreed, I think my son is right. The foundation is different, and the superstructure must also be different. Listening to what Yingji said, I remembered that recently, some people in our unit have the idea of copying Western ideas. Huo Jekian said, this is the voice of a small number of people, but it is not a lot. I used to think that this idea it's not feasible. I didn't think about it carefully. Now it seems that there is something fishy in it. Huo Yingji nodded and said, yes, there is more than just something fishy. Maybe these people have good ideas, thinking about so-called freedom, democracy, and universal elections like in Western countries, but they are obviously divorced from the reality of our country. Mr. Huo nodded and said, anyway, I don't think those foreign governments are very good. They came to power for a few years and formulated some policies. A few years later, someone from another faction came up and then formulated other policies. They abolished the policies that had been implemented before. A half-completed policy will not last long, and if their country wants to do something big, it is just nonsense and chaos, and it can lead to fights in the parliament. Yes, Huo Yingji said, Western countries are not as good as we imagined. In fact, various ideas, collisions, and democracy may be possible in Western countries, but not in our country. There is a saying in China, called a group of dragons without a leader. Huo Jekian nodded and said, yes. Huo Jekin also had some new ideas and agreed, I have some new ideas in my mind. According to the actual situation of our country, as long as they are good for our country and suitable for our country, we can use them, but they are not suitable. Things belonging to our country must not be used. Yes, Father, Huo Yingji said, also, Uncle, you should pay more attention to these things when you go to Nanhu City. Huo Jekian nodded and said, yes, I understand. Actually, Uncle, you can't just be strict. With the development of the economy, there are many cases of corruption. In this case, you should strengthen supervision and reduce corruption. At the same time, you should publicize the major achievements our country has made in recent years, as well as people's living standards have been greatly improved. When society is stable, people's hearts will naturally be stable. Well, it's true, Yingji, I will pay close attention to this aspect. After arriving at the place, Huo Jekian was ready. No matter what, it's better to be cautious. While Huo Jekian and Huo Yingji were discussing countermeasures, Huo Jekin fell into deep thought and said slowly, I think we should investigate in depth and nip it in the bud. Well, it's very necessary. Huo Yingji nodded. Although he had felt it in his previous life, he was a businessman and was soft-spoken. At the same time, my eldest uncle became a cotter at most, and my father has been retiring from his position. If you tell me, others won't believe you, and it will cause trouble for your family. But it's different now. His uncle is going to work somewhere, and his father is also on a higher level, so naturally he can't ignore it. Nowadays, what the country needs is stability, a peaceful and stable development environment. When the economy develops and the country's scientific and technological strength increases, no matter how dissatisfied other countries are, they can only accept the strong return of country H and its great rejuvenation. Those Western ideas are flooding in. People of H country must be firm. We do not believe in Jesus, nor do we believe in various gods. The only things that can make us believe are the good teachings of our ancestors and our hard-working hands. Huo Jekan nodded and said, I will investigate it carefully when I get back and make preparations early. As Huo Jekan, who was about to take charge of a new job, he was even more cautious. The four people discussed it and each other learned a lot. In the evening, after Huo Jekan and Huo Yingji's family went back, Huo Jekian still couldn't sleep for a long time. He put away his second brother's notes and looked at them carefully when he had time. At the same time, he also remembered his nephew's advice. Every time Huo Yingji speaks with profound meaning, the Huo family can always turn a corner and profit from it, so he must pay attention to it. At the same time, the past few years may be the last few years of his official career. He must be cautious and retire after his achievements are over, and he cannot be too late to lose his job. Tian felt much more relaxed because her mother-in-law was here, and her mother-in-law helped take care of the children at home, and she devoted herself to training. At the same time, Zhang Lifang followed Song Chunli, attending various tea parties and gatherings, and finally got to know every family in Yanjing and had some impressions. Second brother and sister, our Huo family doesn't need to fawn over others now, but we can't be arrogant. After all, 10 years to the east of Hedong and 10 years to the west of Hexi. Who knows what will happen in the future, Song Chunli said, anyway, just be kind and gentle. If we meet it's not convenient to talk about some topics, just move on. We are all smart people and won't hold on to them. If there are those who are ignorant, don't pay attention to them. Song Chunli told Zhang Lifang a lot of secrets about each family, and also taught her some tips on how to behave in the upper-class circles of Yanjing. Zhang Lifang recorded carefully and specially prepared a notebook to deepen her memory. Finally, Song Chunli took out a notebook and said, Lifang, there are many things in this notebook that I remember over the years. Take it back and look at it, especially the grievances of each family. There are detailed records in it. If you encounter someone in the future, you will know how to deal with the grudges. Zhang Lifang was pleasantly surprised and said, Thank you, sister-in-law. I will go back and look at it carefully. I will copy it and return it to you. Don't worry, I've remembered it all in my mind anyway, Song Chunli said. After you finish reading, just send it back to your old home. If you don't understand anything, you can ask my mother-in-law. Okay, I understand, sister-in-law. Zhang Lifang smiled. By the way, sister-in-law, when are you going to Nanhu province? Song Chunli smiled bitterly and said, Hey, I originally wanted to teach you more, but yesterday your eldest brother called back and I heard that he had a cold. I asked the nanny again and it seemed that your eldest brother still had some diarrhea, maybe he was acclimatized. I want to go over quickly and take care of your brother. After all, he is old and not as resistant as young people. Zhang Lifang nodded and said, Yeah, brother's health is more important. Sister-in-law, please go there early. By the way, I still have some pills at home, which can treat acclimatization. I will bring you 2 bottles when you leave. Can acclimatization really be cured? Song Chunli was excited. The so-called acclimatization means that the body cannot adapt to the local environment after changing the environment, so physical discomfort occurs. Okay, Zhang Lifang said, it's very useful. I got this from an old colleague of mine who has been a traditional Chinese medicine doctor for decades. Even if you are not acclimated, eating it may be good for your body. Strengthens the stomach and intestines, and makes you feel relaxed. Okay, bring me 2 bottles later, Song Chunli said, I'll give it a try. If it's good, I'll ask you for a few more bottles later. Okay, Zhang Lifang said, there are good things, please share them with sister-in-law in the future. By the way, you are also a well-known expert doctor in China. Will you still work? Song Chunli asked. If you want to work, I can contact the hospital for you. I'm also retired. I don't want to work for the time being. I'm going to take a break for a year and a half. I'll go back to work when I want to work again, Zhang Lifang said. Besides, Tian Tian is about to compete and my child is about to go on summer vacation. I have to watch and wait. Let's talk after Tianation's game is over. That's what you said, Song Chunli nodded. Hey, I'm leaving this time. Ruxiang is busy studying. Second younger brother and sister, you have to help me teach Ruxiang well. That's natural, Zhang Lifang smiled and said, sister-in-law, don't worry. Ruxiang is grown up and he is also a sensible child. Now that Yingzhe is back, he will take Ruxiang to play and study with the children every weekend. That's good, Song Chunli said. Originally, I wanted to take Ruxiang away, but my father-in-law and mother-in-law were unwilling and didn't want to change Ruxiang's study environment, so I had no choice but to keep Ruxiang. They are all our juniors, so they will naturally do their best, Zhang Lifang said, not to mention Ruxiang, Xiaojian, and Xianxian, since they are our juniors, they will be well trained. Originally, Song Chunli was embarrassed to talk about Huo Yinqi's matter, but now Zhang Li said it herself, which moved Song Chunli very much. Second younger siblings, actually, the one who is most worried about me when I leave is Yinqi. Although her legs have been rehabilitated, they are already fine. I can stand up and walk, but it still takes a long time to exercise. Yinqi has a nurse to take care of her. I can rest assured that Ziajian's schooling and swimming will still fall on you and Tian Tian. I'm sorry to trouble you so much. It's not troublesome, Zhang Lifang said. I also watched Yinqi grow up. Although she was confused before, she knows she was wrong now. As long as she can be well, we can rest assured. As for Xiaojian, that's more, he is a good boy. Tian Tian can be so kind to an orphan, so he will not be bad to Xiaojian. Sister-in-law, you should understand this. Yeah, anyway, I have to thank you. If possible, I will come over to visit you often. Song Chunli smiled and kept thanking Zhang Lifang. When Huo Yingzhe came back from get off work, he saw his aunt and mother praising and thanking each other, and was a little speechless. Okay, don't be polite. I feel a toothache even listening to it, Huo Yingzhe said. Auntie, you can take care of uncle with peace of mind. Don't worry, we can also rest assured. As for my grandfather at home, with my grandmother and my parents, Tian Tian and I promise to take good care of the children. Yeah, I'm not worried, Song Chunli said. You are all good children. By the way, your eldest brother will bring your sister-in-law back to celebrate Christmas today. We will come back to get together then. Okay, Huo Yingzhe said. Over the years, the eldest brother has used his work to get good things for the country and initially completed the previously planned plan. Afterwards, Song Chunli had lunch in Maohutong before going back to prepare herself and take a plane to Nanhu province tomorrow to meet up with the old man. This is the reason why young couples come to stay with each other all the time. The children are all married and have careers, and the one who can accompany him is his wife. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 1182. 1181. In a blink of an eye, it's summer vacation and the children don't have to go to school anymore. He Tian was thinking about taking a few days off to walk around Yanjing with her children, but Zhu's Hitao and the head coach refused directly. Teacher, it's not that I don't want to give you a holiday, but it's training now. Don't dare to delay for a moment, Coach Wu persuaded him earnestly. There will be a competition in less than 2 months. Everyone else is adopting a closed approach. Training, but you can go home every day, and an exception has been made. If you ask for leave again, on the one hand, it will affect your performance, and on the other hand, other team members will also have their own thoughts, which will affect the momentum of the entire team. Hearing Coach Wu's rejection, Tian knew that her vacation was in vain. Okay, then I won't ask for leave and train hard, Tian said. I will go all out to prepare for the Olympics. After the Olympics, I can retire. I can take as long a vacation as I want. Hearing this, Coach Wu had a toothache. He was thinking about retiring even before the game. Hey, it's really hard to lead unmotivated players. Well, you can do whatever you want then. But in the Olympics, teacher you have to work hard. All eyes are on you now. You can't let us down, Coach Wu solemnly said. If Tian such results cannot win a gold medal, and he has almost no hope of a future swimming team. Okay. I will work hard, Tian said. It's getting late, I'm going back to training. Since you can't ask for leave, you can't waste time. Well, go ahead, Coach Wu said. I want to remind you that you must not eat food from outside. Even if you cook it at home, you must make it according to the recipe and use food from our cafeteria. Tian thought for a while, usually doing this would be a bit troublesome and prone to accidents, and said, how about this? I eat in the cafeteria 3 times a day, and then I don't eat anything when I go home and only drink water. You also have to pay attention to the water, Coach Wu said. How about this? Let's bring the water back from here. Tian smiled and said, head coach, my drinking water comes from the spring water of Yukwan Mountain. Coach Wu was stunned for a moment, then smiled, that's good water. There must be no problem with that water. Not only is there no problem, that water is for important leaders of the country to drink. Coach Wu is not even qualified to get it, I'm really envious. But that's okay, at least you don't have to worry about Tianations drinking water. After that, even on weekends, Tian would come over to eat. Sometimes he couldn't come, so Wei Yuan and Kui Ying would come over to make meals. Therefore, Tian was able to pass every physical examination, urine test, and other tests. Although he can't have several consecutive days of vacation, Tian can still take his children to play around on weekends. Huo Jekan and Zhang Lifang were also very interested and traveled with the children. Every time we go out, the queue is huge. Huo Yingzhe only has 6 children in his family, plus adults, 2 business cars, and many guards, bodyguards, and the like. Days like this are very lively and everyone is very happy. Huo Yingzhe not only teaches Huo Ruxiang, Huo Xiaosan, and Huo Ruwa to practice martial arts on weekends, but also takes them to play basketball and football. With the guidance of his family, the children's hobbies make their lives colorful. Huo Ruxiang is now 14 years old. He has been in the 3rd grade of junior high school since school started. He understands many things. He knows that his grandparents and parents left because of the future of the Huo family. Now, in addition to studying hard, he is also learning how to behave with his great-grandfather and uncle, and he has learned decently. Zhang Lifang is very concerned about the children, not only their studies, but also their lives. She arranges them properly so that Tian doesn't have to worry about them. Fortunately, Huo Yingqi beside me also helped, and I finally got through this chaotic but fulfilling summer vacation. Seeing that the Olympics were approaching, Xiao Lihong was a little restless, and Cai Fenfang was also a little anxious, but she didn't dare to show it, but around Xiao Lifang, she talked about Tian more frequently. Xiao Lifang finished a set of exercises and was panting. Cai Fenfang poured a glass of water and said, have a rest and drink some water. Xiao Lifang took it, drank a few sips, and sat by the side in silence. You are making rapid progress. You are 0.6 seconds happier than before, Cai Fenfang said. There is definitely hope of winning the gold medal this time, but I heard from people over there that Tianation's results are also increasing. I can't catch up. After hearing this, Xiao Lihong threw away the cup in her hand, got up and left. Looking at Xiao Lihong's angry back, Cai Fenfang prayed in her heart, hurry up and do it. Tian will not be able to participate in the competition, and Jiao Lihong will not be able to participate in the competition. Her hope of winning the gold medal will be even greater. Jiao Lihong was so angry that even when she saw Coach Wang, she didn't stop and turned around to leave. Coach Wang was a little confused. He frowned and asked the assistant beside him, "What's wrong with Jiao Lihong recently? She has a lot of mood swings. If you participate in the competition in such a state, what good results can you get?" Xiao Qian, the assistant beside him, was a little hesitant after hearing this, but he was not sure and dared not say anything. "Why are you so hesitant?" Coach Wang said, "Please tell me carefully. The competition is about to begin. We must do a good job in the ideological work of the athletes." Xiao Qian thought for a while and said, "I heard what others said, but I'm not sure. Just listen to it." "Well, let's talk about it," Coach Wang said. "What happened recently? The big battle is coming, and everyone else is preparing for it. This Jiao Lihong is showing her temper and getting emotional, which will affect her results. Although she has little hope of winning the gold medal, the silver medal there is still great hope. That's why." Seeing that there was no one around, Xiao Qian said in a low voice, "The problem is because of the performance aspect. He Tian has been pressing on Jiao Lihong's head. Jiao Lihong is high-spirited, and her uncle is also the director of the sports bureau, so it is inevitable that she feels uncomfortable." When Coach Wang heard this, he finally understood what was going on, his eyes dark and uncertain. Originally he also wanted He Tian to be under his name, but Coach Wu arranged for Zhu's Hitao. That young man Zhu's Hitao has no qualifications, but he got such a good player. Obviously, Coach Wu wants to train and promote Zhu's Hitao. If we can bring out a world champion, it will be a real qualification. No matter how good the national results are, it cannot compare with the Olympic Games. After all, this is for the whole world. He Tian is even more likely to win several gold medals and break world records at the same time. He can only be greedy. At the same time, he was jealous.